Dan, how are you doing?
I'm fine, Catherine.
It's good to see you this morning. Thank you for opening the webinar for us. We appreciate. Great. As people keep joining, maybe we can recap yesterday's discussion. What were your takeaways? Reflecting back before we say a word of prayer as we start. You can see nice pictures, profile pictures of the team, of the people, of the participants. Nice, nice, nice. Highlight of yesterday's discussion as people continue to join. Your takeaways, something that stood out for you, and maybe also today's expectations, apart from saying, oh, we are continuing from where we left. Anyone? Real good takeaways? Anyone who'd like to give us their takeaways, their highlights? Performance management in totality. Very good topic for all of us. We saw some good systems, talked about the principles, the effects of performance management in an organization. Good discussions around the table, some of the challenges. We also looked at from an employee point of view, what they're expected to do. And we say that it's a two-way traffic. Everybody has to put in the effort that is required and well-deserved. Anyone would like to add anything there? Okay, great. So in the interest of time, allow us to start, and then we can continue discussing as we go along. Who'd like to pray for us? Someone offer to pray. Always nice to begin with a word of prayer.
I will.
Thank you, Helen. Appreciate it.
Good morning, everyone. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we come before you this morning. We want to thank you for yet another day. We want to thank you that you've woken us well, that we are in good health this morning, and that we've gathered here, Jehovah God, to have another day of understanding performance management and just being together as a team, discussing and sharing. We pray that God, you will be with us as we start, that you'll give us good insights, that we'll have a good time, that it will be successful, and even as we complete it, Jehovah, we will have enjoyed Jehovah God, and we have learned a lot, and we have also built good relations and good network. In Jesus' name we do pray and believe. Amen.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thanks. Great. Unmute then and say maybe just good morning, good morning, good morning, for me to know that we're all here. I know adult learning is never easy. And of course, today we might be counting down like bad employees, you know, and we all, the weekend is here. And then we say it's made in China, it never lasts. The only thing that lasted so much from China was COVID, you know. So good morning. It's nice to see you all. Okay. Allow me to share my screen so that continue from there. There we go. When you see it, let me know. Is it there? Is the screen there? Great. Everybody can see my screen? Just raise up your hand or...
Yes.
Oh, great. Okay. Okay, and you can hear me right. Okay, so yesterday, and one of the things is that I know we are busy, but again, I'd like us to really spare some good moments around checking in, making sure that we are present, we are learning, so that we also maybe finish on time, and you can go back to your normal duties. Things are thick, and I know towards the end of the month there are many things to be done at an office setting, so we don't take it for granted that you're here. So yesterday we finished very strongly, and we looked at the performance management process, just examining what it entails, how the process is done. And we all agree that it revolves round and round and round. And also what we really saw yesterday was that performance management is a daily occurrence in the organization. It's not an isolated event where we say, oh, now it is, let's talk about performance, let's talk about your performance. Let me give you feedback. We continuously give feedback. We continuously solicit for that feedback. The reviews could happen formally at a certain period of time. That is, it's part of the process. And to be able to make decisions about an employee in a very formal setting, in a formal way, we all agree, and of course set the targets and stuff like that. But once we have our targets, our objectives as an individual, our objectives, our key result areas, whatever we want to call them, from a department point of view, we understand the strategy, then it's easier for us to be able to perform and really meet those objectives, because then the environment is ideal. My supervisor is supporting me. I'm working well with my peers. I'm also just impacting the other people who are my juniors. So it's a never-ending wheel. And we say that one of the things that really helps us is to make sure that our culture, our values, the people feel that they're wanted to, that they feel welcomed and wanted to work in that organization. And we also saw that the role of HR is critical in the whole arena of performance management, that they are the technical advisors. They will continue partnering with line managers to make sure that that is happening, and the balls are not dropping. So one of the things that also HR is encouraged to do and should do is to make sure that the line managers really do understand what performance management is in totality, some of the tools that they can use to manage performance, the process that it takes, and how it is finally calibrated at that level. And we'll see some of the methods that we can use to evaluate performance, and also looking at the some of the tools, management tools, that an organization can take and have it as a base for its performance. Any question for people who didn't attend? So that's what we discussed yesterday. And also one of the things that I would like to encourage is that if you were not there yesterday and you're joining today, there's recording that is normally on the LMS for ACHRP, and also the notes. And Dan was also telling us yesterday, go ahead of the facilitator, so that you know what is coming. So that was the last slide. What's the role of the employee in performance management? So today I would like us to start with management tools. And what are management tools? When we think about management tools, which are some of the management tools that you are aware of or you have come across? And I'm sure when you look at, when we look at the 5 most popular management tools, you will see, oh, we have all these tools in our organization, or it's things that I have come across and things that I do understand. So anyone, management tools? So management tools, just let me read and then we unpack it. Management, business management tools are all the systems, applications, controls, calculating solutions, methodologies, etc., used by organizations to be able to cope with the changing markets, ensure a competitive position or a competitive advantage for themselves, and improve business performance. Management tools, if they are used appropriately, can be powerful enablers of change and actions in companies. They can, for example, help define and execute the strategy, engage with customers and employees, and monitor performance. So many types of management tools. And we are saying that if they are used appropriately, they are powerful business enablers that can really help the organization to move in the right direction. And of course, the three things that we see is that if we have a strategy, then we're able to retain our customers for whatever products and services we are offering. Remember that whatever industry you work in, whether you work in a corporate setting, in manufacturing, in a service industry, whether you work in an NGO setting where you have to write proposals and go out and compete, or maybe a donor coming and supporting you in actualizing your strategy and your vision, or even whether you are working at the government, you're working for the government. All these are industries that really engage with customers. If I go to seek for services, for example, maybe I lose my ID and I have to go to a Huduma center to get the service, I will meet, and that's a service that I am looking for. The government is going to give me that service. If I go to seek justice at the courts, that is a service that I'm expecting from the magistrate and all the other legal people who work in the courts, So, and then of course, now, if we work in all those systems, then there are employees and there are people who are mandated at different levels to execute the roles and to be expected to perform. So if we use those management tools appropriately, we can also be able to monitor performance. So bottom line is that all these management tools are supposed to help you execute your strategy, engage with your customers and employees to monitor performance. So nobody has been left. The organization is there. Whatever you are serving to the customer has already been highlighted, and how you're going to engage with them. And also the employee is there and you're able to engage, motivate and monitor their performance. So which are the 5 top management tools, you may ask? The 5 which have been tried and tested over time is the strategic planning, and how do you have a strategic plan? Comes from your strategy, and you plan around your strategy, and to make sure that you have frameworks, everybody does understand it. We've talked about over and over again about really having, no matter how complex your strategy is, you should be able to break it down to small little points of people being able to understand what they're supposed to do, and understand how they plug into a strategy, which pillar is most important for them. All the pillars will be important, but there are some pillars that everybody will find that is more defined because of their role, because of their competencies and the talents that they bring to the organization. Then customer relationship management, where we've talked about you can use many tools. We want to make sure that the customer experience, like what we like to call it nowadays, I like a good customer experience, that if I engage with all the tools that you have in your organization, from your website to meeting people physically, that really it's seamless and I'm able to get the services that I need and require from you. Employee engagement surveys are very important and very accurate in terms of giving us the temperature within the organization. What are people feeling? How are people settling into this organization? Are they totally engaged? Are we giving the right resources? Are we leading them well, the way they would like to be led? And some of the things that become of concern, or they're highlighted as concern by the employees, are we actually coming back and saying, this seems to be a pattern that is coming up, but are we able to define and go back and say that we've been able to solve or we've been able to implement. And one of the things that you have a lot of apathy around people, employees filling engagement surveys is because nothing gets done. We want people to fill those forms. We analyze the results. Sometimes we don't even share the results, or we do what? We evaluate them further and take only what suits us, and everything that is red, we put it aside and say, well, these are just complainers. They should know that they have a job. They should be grateful. I think if we've asked those questions and there's a pattern that is emerging, we should be able to do something and honestly give feedback the way it is. If we're able to do some of the things very quickly, have quick wins. If it's things that you cannot afford to implement there and then, just come and say, well, we've had you. This will cost this amount of money. We don't have it in the budget. We are looking into it, and offer an opportunity for people to bring in their suggestions and to see how some of the things can be implemented. So solutions are from employees, they're not from anybody else, because we all come together. It's just a small committee of management who have been given the responsibility to look into some of those, into the implementation of some of the things that come out of the survey. So benchmarking, internal benchmarking, external benchmarking, benchmarking for many of the, for your organization, from your brand. How is my brand perceived out there? Your employee value proposition, benchmarking for that, benchmarking against your competitor, against the products that you are offering, benchmarking internally, whether departments are collaborating, and just to make sure that the whole business is really benchmarked against the criteria used to execute your strategy. The balance scorecard, and that is what we are going to dwell on this morning around performance management. We know that the balance scorecard continues to be a very powerful tool, a tool that has evolved over the years, continues to be used in terms of executing the strategy of an organization. So we will want to look at the balance scorecard as a tool of managing performance. And then it should not be confused as one of the methods for appraisal. The balance scorecard comes to look at the organization in totality. Indeed, it can also be, you can use the balance scorecard as, you can simplify it further and say, we use the balance scorecard as our appraisal tool. That's fine. But we want to look at it from a strategic point of view of where the organization's performance sits from the premise of a balance scorecard. And then if you're going to use it as an evaluation tool, that's okay. And we will also look at all these other appraisal tools that we can use. Okay. Any question there? Open to feedback, top management tools, what they are bringing to the table and why it is important. Anyone? Helen, Lucy, Rhoda, Nancy, Irene, Daktari, great, yeah. Okay. Eunice, Violet, Lucy. I'm just saying hello, Immaculate, Wellington, Annie, Sarah, Wanja, Mohammed, good morning, everybody. And what would you like? Is there anyone using the balance scorecard at their place of work? The balance scorecard? Anyone using the balance scorecard? Some people, some organizations thinks it's too complex. It's a beautiful tool to use. It was developed by Dr. Robert Kaplan and Dr. David Newton, the whatever. And I keep on saying some of the things, it's so, if you're doing ACHRP, it's so nice to come to these seminars of ACHRP, because then you find these are things that you will do within one of the units in CHRP. So it will be like a no-brainer. And of course, if you're sharing experiences, it becomes very easy for us to be able to remember. You remember the 70-20-10 rule of adult learning? Adults really retain what they learn from when they do it themselves, and also they hear of other people's experiences. And remember also the sad bit is that we only retain 25 to 50% of what we have heard. So make sure that even when you are listening, you take the most important thing. You want to retain what is most important for you, so that you're able to implement it at your workplace, or even to become a better individual in terms of growing your career and understanding some of these principles and things that really help you understand the world of business. Okay, balance scorecard, anyone using it? Anyone who has heard of it then? What do they understand about it? In a nutshell, it's there is always something right. We all right here anyway. We all right because it's right. Anyone? Balance scorecard as a management tool, and we have seen what management tools can do for us, why they're important, some of the management tools. Today, there will be an exam at the end of this session. Coming.
Okay. What I've learned about the balance score, what I've read,
Yes.
you know, it was not thorough reading, but okay, the small idea that I have about balance scorecard is that it measures different areas in a business. So it could be the financial strength of the business, customers, internal processes, innovation, etc. So different areas of the business are divided and then it's measured. Yeah,
thank you,
that's
Nancy.
all that I know. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Do you use it at your place of work?
No. I
okay,
was working somewhere that wanted to implement it, but it was not completely rolled out. I think people felt that it was difficult.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to learn more. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. There's always that notion that the balance scorecard might be a bit heavy for our business, or a bit too complex for our business. Why? But when you look at it, it's things that you do every day. Like what Nancy has said, internal processes. You're looking at your finances, you're looking at your people, you're looking at your processes. So I don't know why people always shy away from the balance scorecard. Really good way of having it as a platform for managing the organization, and then plugging into all these other things. I mean, bringing in all these other things when we've already divided it. We've already divided the business into those 4 segments, and those are the 4 segments that we are always talking about. Someone else? Balance scorecard, what you've heard about it. Have you implemented it?
Morning, team.
Yes, yeah.
Morning. I think for me, I would say that at least I've heard about it. I've had some limited experience on the same, but basically just like, I think it's Lucy was just spoken. Of course, it will look at 4 key areas. Of course, we have the so-called financial part of it, and basically there, we are looking at matters financial in an organization, cost budgeting, whatever cost cutting issues, whatever it is, which is normally around there. So that, of course, the organization remains competitive. And of course, there's a big question of the customer. First, we need to know our customers, what are their needs, and how will we meet them. Not exceed expectations. I always hear this this common buzzword that we need to exceed the expectations of our customers. It is not really achievable. But the point is that, of course, we must understand what their needs and strive to achieve them, in the highest quality, possible. And of course, there is the whole thing of the internal process. And basically, this is where the organization will have functions there with operating manuals, procedures, policies, whatever it is. And the big question is, are these policies and procedures and internal processes and activities supporting the growth of the organization? So actually the challenge normally is like, you can go and read about it, but now when you bring it down to the organization, now interpreting it to fit into the realities of an organization is where now it really becomes very complex. And of course, then the last thing is the learning and the growth bit of it, which sometimes Of course, you know, do we wish our organization to be a learning organization? What systems do we have in place? Or we are just in a talk shop of some sort, you know? I mean, but the best way, of course, is to start, do the best you can, learn as you move along, and then you perfect the system as you move along. It is quite a good thing, because actually it has moved us from the financial measure of organizational growth to include the other measures, and to that extent, of course, it's a good thing.
Exactly.
Those are my thoughts this morning.
Thank you. Yeah, Peter, you've almost summarized it very well in terms of the 4 areas, the 4 key result areas that the balance scorecard aims at looking at. Because you remember when organizations are so hell-bent on making profit. And yesterday we said that when we look at the basic principles of why organizations exist, is to make a difference in the products and services that you're bringing to the market, and to support the environment and to support the people in that community. But what we want to do, even as small entrepreneurs in our own ways, we always want to make sure that we make the most profit out of it, even before we perfect the product that we're bringing to the market. And remember, even if it is a small business, whether I'm running it alone, me, I need to think about me as an individual first and foremost. What are my skills? What are my capabilities? Do I feel that I have checked on my own self-awareness? I am sure that my emotional intelligence is in check and balance, you know, me as an individual. And then after that, I am going to sell this product to someone else out there. And that is the planet, that is the environment. Then after that, I should be thinking after profit. Once I think about these 2 things, then profits follow naturally. But because of it's a capitalistic world, it's cutthroat, it is not fair. We just decided, do you know what I'm going to do? I will start first look at the profit. And profit is, I'll be frugal, I will be bare, thin to my operational cost will be thin, so that I maximize shareholders' return. And of course, there again, businesses started becoming very complex. People are buying shares in your company. They expect to be paid a dividends. I already invested in this company. So too many moving pieces, too complex in terms of what it is, the world all over. But I like what Peter has said. You know, we used to look at just the financial bit of the business, but now the balance scorecard told us, hey, how about looking into those other areas, the customer, our internal processes, and learning and development. And learning and development really looks at the agility, the innovativeness, the creativity of the people. And are we a learning organization? Would you call your organization a learning organization? Are we like what we have had? Are we exceeding customers' expectation? You know, our finances looking healthy, and for us to be able to do that. So anybody else using the balance scorecard or has heard of it from a different perspective? Have you implemented it? Would you like to implement it based on the discussions that we're having? Anybody else? Anybody else? So this is what Newton and Kaplan were aiming to achieve, that the balance scorecard became a management tool that provides stakeholders. You know, stakeholders is everybody. It's the internal, external, everybody put together with a comprehensive measure on how the organization is proceeding towards the achievement of its strategic goals. So how are we progressing? How is it being measured? The balance scorecard aims balances financial and non-financial measures, balances short and long-term measures. You know, we have short-term goals, we have long-term goals based on our strategy, balances performance drivers, leading indicators, and outcome measures. Those are always called the lagging indicators. Should contain just enough data to give a complete picture of organizational performance and no more. You know, sometimes we make it so complex. We put in all these things. You know, the consultant comes, and let me tell you what happens with us consultants. We come and put thank you, Nancy, I'll give you a chance. We come and bombard you. And so for us to look relevant, we bombard you with things. And then we tell you, nice, implement. By the time the consultant is going, they've sometimes left you more confused than how you are. You know, we understood this balance scorecard. You know, even us ourselves, we've gone and researched and formed. You know, you guys go find out where the other organizations are doing. You, Peter, you said you have a friend in that competitor. You find out how they are doing. You know, Nancy, you like research, you go, and we've put it, we even mapped it out on a big whiteboard in our offices. We do know ourselves. Then we say, you know what? Let's look for a consultant now to come and help us actualize it. And then we come and look at your strategy and do everything, and we bombard you guys. And by the time you are left, you are thinking, how will we implement this? They've even told us to look for a new system to implement this. You know, so sometimes it's good to believe in ourselves so that it is not too much. It's not loaded with things that we do not need or we are not ready for. Nancy?
Sorry, it was an error. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's fine. Yeah. Leads to strategic focus and organizational alignment. Very, 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 that's what it aims to achieve. Anyone who has worked with a consultant who left them more confused than how they started off, or they put more work than what was required? Anyone? Or just challenge the consultant and say, this is too much, you know, I don't think we are ready for this at this time. Anyone? I think they overall do a good job. Overall, do a good job if the TOR is very well defined and they come and they are experts in that area. I think overall they do a good job. Anyone working with a consultant? Are you a consultant yourself here? Working with a consultant, how it is, you know? So I'm sure you're keen to look at the balances, performance drivers, leading indicators, and the outcome measures. You remember yesterday that we should be looking at the results and not the results and not the activities. What were the results? You know, it's almost talking about the end justifies the means. You know, it's not, you can't say that I am going to steal and then we meet our targets. No, but we are saying that how we are going to, the activities that we do are not the ones that are going to be measured. It is the results that I bring on the table, which were very well articulated from the very beginning. And because we know that even when we are carrying out those activities, there could be some challenges, and those challenges need to be discussed and solutions found around them. Okay. So what is the balance scorecard? Can someone read for us, please? Someone read for us.
What is the balance scorecard? Financial and regulatory. To satisfy your constituents,
constituents.
What financial and regulatory objectives must you accomplish? Now I don't know which direction to go, but anyway, customer.
Yeah.
To achieve our vision, what customer needs must we serve? Internal. To satisfy our customer and stakeholders, in which business process must we excel? Learning and growth. To achieve our goals, how must we learn, communicate, and grow?
Thank you very much. Yeah. So our financial, you know, who are we serving? Are we paying our debts on time internally? Do we have processes and procedures on how our money is utilized? And when our supplier is supposed to pay us, you know, just making sure that we are at a real good financial place for us to be able to execute. And looking at all these ratios that go with finances, when you look at your end of year financial statements, you know, when your financial statements are audited, can you look and say that indeed, if this company was to be sold, as a matter of going concerned, someone would come running to buy it, or we would struggle to sell this company, and because of the financial position that we are in. We cannot underestimate and shy away that the financial capability of an organization is what it revolves around. So we must be very, very keen to make sure that we are looking at our finances, that we are looking after our pennies so that the pounds can look after themselves. That doesn't say that we should be stingy. We should be able to do things within within what we can afford, and making sure that we are meeting our obligations. Our financial capability also shows where will we be as a company in terms of our ability to afford people. Are we in the bottom tier of 25th percentile? Are we at the 50th percentile, 75th percentile? So it attracts the right talent. You know, if you're a top player, top player, everybody wants to come and work with you. But remember, when I pay you well, I also demand a lot from you. Look at all those companies that pay well. They demand a lot. And the thing is that it's just the culture in those organizations, you know, high performing, high pressurized environments, you know, because then you kind of think, well, they compensate me to be here. It's a great brand and stuff like that. So it's for you to know where you want to be and what kind of pressure you can you can push yourself into. I think that continues to be one of the things around financial capability and compensation for employees around the balance scorecard. The customer, customer-centric, people-centric as well. What vision do we want to achieve? It's already there. Where are we going to play in the market? Our products niche. Are we in the mass market? Whom are we serving? What are customers talking about us? What is the competition doing for us and stuff like that? There was a case the other day, just a couple of weeks ago, where Bata took this other company. What is it called? Who heard of that? They took each other to court after even anti-competition. What is it called? Could not resolve their issue. So Bata said that they make these school shoes, where we've all grown up with Bata school shoes. And this other company came and copied almost the same design. So Bata went and said that this other company, what's the name of this company? I forget. Said that they've copied their design, so they're confusing their customers out there. And these people said, but we've been manufacturing these shoes for the longest time possible. You've just woken up and realized that we also, maybe the buckle, Bata's buckle, I can imagine maybe is, let's say, silver. This other one, maybe their silver is a bit more dull or something like that, you know, very small. You remember also when there was a big war between Blue Band and the detergents. There's always war, you know, that you are copying us. We have the patent, and then all of a sudden you're confusing the market and stuff like that. But I keep on saying that customer is king. You know, have you ever gone to the supermarket and so all this maize flour is the same? You know, there's some people who are very brand loyalists. There's some people who like premium brands. But when I go and say, this is all unga ugali, which one is on sale? Come, we go home. Come, we go cook you. You know, if it's 2 shillings less, I think we need to stretch our money. So that is where really you have to know your customer. You have to study your customer. You have to collect data about your customer and customer preferences. A lot of work goes on there. That's why we saw that one of the tools that you need to use as a business is the customer relationship management tools to understand who you are. No wonder companies invest so much money to buy research and customers' data in terms of so that they really get to them. Have you ever gone to your social media pages and one day you look for shoes? What happens when you open all the other social pages that you have? Maybe you checked for shoes on Instagram, or maybe and then when you go to your Facebook page, adverts on your right will all be about shoes. When you go to your emails, there will be pop-ups once in a while, or even maybe you're browsing, there'll be shoes. How? You think, oh, there must be ghosts following me about these shoes and stuff like that. So data mining is real. Artificial intelligence is real, because you have linked all these accounts, they've linked all these accounts and they can see that this is what where you are. Or even when you are looking for maps and then you've been looking for restaurants around, and maybe you've said Chinese is one of my favorite cuisines, and all of a sudden around that area they started giving you the restaurants that you can go to around there. Internal quality assurance comes in and process management. To satisfy our customers and stakeholders, in which business process must we excel? What are we good at? And then we start driving and we become better at it, and we are almost the best. Like Coke will never give you its formula to make Coke. Everybody else has tried, but Coke and Pepsi very different. Coke and Softer very different, because then they have, they've excelled in the internal processes. So internal processes is everything that you have, your policies, your procedures. Your processes, do you have the flow charts that if it comes from here, it goes here, it goes here? You have the policies, let's say payroll flow chart, recruitment flow chart, so that if you're going to be ISO certified, then everything is already in place. So these are some of the things that we need to start thinking of, if you want to grow big, not just stick there, but progressively make sure that our policies are in tandem with best business practices. We can afford to cost those policies and procedures, so that we're really serving the customer. Financials are speaking to the policies and the procedures that we have, and we can be able to know that if Catherine is not here and Lucy is the one who is going to be acting for the next 3 weeks, it's easy. There's no gap at all, because everybody does understand the internal processes and the collaboration that is between all the departments in the organization. Then finally, learning and growth. How do we learn as an organization? How do we make sure that our knowledge is really staying internally? How are we mainstreaming that in the whole organization? And how are we communicating? And what programs are we putting in place? So the learning and growth is centered around people, and making sure that they have the competencies and the capability to be able to execute their work. So when you look at VUCA, when you look at design thinking, when you think of interactive learning spaces in organizations, really has a big place around the area of learning and growth. Any question? Anything that you would like to add around the 4 areas of the balance scorecard? And you can see, this is really how the organization is divided into 4 areas. If there was no customer, we would not be there. If there was no money, we would not be there. If there are no people, we would not be there. If there are no policies, we would not be there. 4, easy. And then after that, now we start putting the drivers for each of the 4 areas. Anyone who'd like to comment on this slide very quickly? Very quickly. Someone who'd like to comment? Especially in all the 4 areas internally, maybe our processes, Anyone who is ISO certified here? Your organization is ISO certified? How involving is it? Is it working for you? Does it bring you more business?
I worked for a company that was ISO certified a few years ago. So basically, if I look at these 4 areas, I feel that it is like going through ISO certification in different segments of the business. Because what it entails, for example, if it is internal processes, they need you to come out with clear processes and flowcharts, as you have mentioned, and then auditing the same, perhaps annually, to check if we are complying. So basically coming up with the standards, and then we look at what you are doing vis-a-vis the benchmark, what you are supposed to do. So if I look at all these areas, learning and growth, I think it should be the same. You know, where do you want to get to in terms of learning? So how do we determine maybe learning needs, and are we able to implement whatever learning needs are there? And if we figured out what the learning needs are, did we put in place measures to meet these learning needs? So basically, again, analyzing that and looking at where we are at the end of a review period to check if we are in compliance. So I'm seeing the entire process. My understanding of the entire process is it's like an ISO certification process, but for different areas in a business. So it makes things a bit easier for me to understand now.
Yeah, oh, fine, fantastic. You see, you're already using that management tool to be able to go through the ISO certification process. It's rigorous. It has to be audited. It has to be benchmarked. You have to set standards. But even when you think about it in an organization, we always talk about, let's talk about, you know, even in a meeting or even in our strategic plan, we'll always have a pillar on our financial capability. You know, what business are we in and what customers will we be serving? You know, so it's revolving, it's just going around. So in some way, every organization actually uses the balance scorecard, but we might not call it the balance scorecard, but all these key result areas are actually represented. Anybody else would like to share ISO certification or just using these key result areas to run your business? And how do you do it? Anyone else would like to share? No one else? Can unmute yourself. No? Okay, great. So the importance of the balance scorecard, it's just to make sure that we are moving in the right direction, and we can be able to measure very easily. We can be able to pick up any challenges very easily, and we're able to focus on what is important for us. So of course we begin, you know, why do I want to begin a business? You know, and I want to make maybe I want to make profit, I want to get extra income, I have passion for this, there's a ready market for this. So you ask yourself all those questions, and then you say, well, I'm ready and I think I should be able to be successful, and you go and you start it. Then midway you realize, I hear about things, mission and vision. Starting small. Think of any organization, it started small and it grows, and it gets there. Even government starts small and it becomes complex. So they are now compactualized into small little departments which can handle every area of the business. So you come up with a vision and a mission. What's a mission? What's a mission and what's a vision? Mission, vision. What's your vision? What's your mission? Anyone? mission and vision. We have them all plastered in our walls nicely. I love them. And I go to people's offices. I look, what's the mission and vision of our government? Do we even have one?
Vision is where the company wants to get
Mm-hmm.
and then the mission is what the company is doing. So it lays out what it is currently doing and how, and the how on how they will achieve whatever objectives that there is. So one is present, the other one is future.
Yeah, very present, where we are right now, what we are doing, vision, what we want to achieve. And I think when the founding fathers of of our country said we want to eradicate poverty, what? I can't remember. All just there were jiggers there, health. You know, there were many jiggers during those years. And no more jiggers. I mean, we had that. We used to laugh about it in high school. You know, what were we eradicating those things? And then including what? Including jiggers as well. Anyway, so and of course, the strategic plan, once we have a vision and a mission, then we start looking at the bigger picture around what's our strategy? What will we be focusing on the next 5 years? That's a long-term growth of the organization. Of course, within the strategic plan, you want to break it down further in terms of maybe media goals, you know, short-term goals, mid-term goals, long-term goals. And within that strategy, we're also looking at how we are going to under what frameworks are going to be put in place so that we can be able to achieve. And then, of course, based on that, when we bring in the balance score as one of our management tools, including all the other tools that we can put in place, the ones that we talked about, then it becomes very, very easy for us to be able to run the business. And the beauty and what we are saying is that all these tools, we do have them. Maybe they are not well defined or well articulated or they're not working as optimally or in the organization, but we do have them here and there. So my challenge to you, are you going to try and mainstream at least one in your department? You know, at least one in your department that you have control over or you have influence. And then after that, maybe people can come and see, oh my gosh, this department is doing very well. What have you guys done differently? And then we say we are taking performance management to the next level. Atuchezi na watu. This year, we are mid-year, but we have said we know what is expected of us, but now we are really looking at what we are expected to do and what we are doing it and what are the results. So those conversations. And of course, those are all the elements that we can use to make sure that we are achieving the objectives of the business. We can use best practices, Six Sigma, application, total quality management, empowering people, becoming a learning organization. We can use self-directed work teams. And of course, in the area of, we can never miss to know that change will always be there. And what are we doing about change management? So these are just tools that we can use to help us actualize the balance scorecard, our strategic planning, and of course now being able to achieve our mission and our vision. And there could be many more. This is not exhaustive. Okay. So under the customer perspective and under the, let's look at possible, very, very quickly, some of the possible performance measure if you were to use the balance scorecard. Okay. What are we trying to achieve under the customer perspective? To achieve our mission, to take care of customer needs, and to make sure that the customer does not think of shifting from ungaya dollar to ungaya pembe. You know, how do we make sure that brand loyalty? What are some of the measures we can be looking at? Someone can read? what? These are some of the measures that we can put in place. Let's very quickly read and maybe just summarize it.
Possible performance measures, customer satisfaction, average, satisfaction gap analysis, satisfaction versus level of importance, satisfaction distribution, percentage of each area scorecard.
Yeah, fantastic. So those are some of the measures that you can use. And if you're in marketing, if you're in sales, these are some of the possible measures that you always look at, collecting data about your customers and thinking, well, customer satisfaction, you can give out forms, you can form focus groups, people that really use your goods or really look at it. So these are possible performance measures for you to know whether you are really on the right path around the customer perspective and the key results areas that you are going to perform. It also gives you gives you definite answers around our products relevant, our services relevant. Should we now start looking at other products, introducing other products? Our customers ready for some of the products that we know they are still in the shelf, and we know that we can be able to do what? Bring them into place. So think about the cutthroat around Samsung, iPhones, Oppo, Nokia. Can you imagine what they go through? By the time we even finish with Galaxy 20, another one has been put in. What do they read about customers? They think we are what? And they can't be producing phones like that, one after the other, even before the other one, people understand what it is. Even maybe before I finish paying with my insurance, because I just thought I need to have this phone and in the market. What do they think about customers? Do they think they research? Is it because they're playing with our minds? What have they perfected? And what can we learn from them? Phone companies, always in our faces with new products.
Yeah, consumerism. And the present need to always want to be ahead of others, I guess, like to be with it, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a company that have said around niche, I'm going to have niche products, and I'm going to look at the affluent, and those are the ones who want the hot things off the shelf. By the time I hear Nokia, when Samsung or Apple, those are premium products, and they say we are launching the next phone, the top end phone, they actually have people that they call the first 10 customers and say, market, would you like to reserve one? I'm sure one of us here is in that call. I mean, don't we know people here? Where? I mean, oh, good for you guys. Yeah. So very important around managing performance and even managing your customers. Okay. Under the financial aspect, what would we be looking at accomplishing? Someone read us for us the possible performance measures.
To satisfy our constituents, what financial and regulatory objectives must we accomplish? Possible performance measures. The first one, cost/unit, unfunded requirements or projects, cost of service, budget projections, and targets.
Yeah. Thank you, Helen. It's all into our what? It speaks into how we measure our finances internally. So I'm sure maybe you have cost per hire. When you are doing your hiring, you have costed your benefits per person, and if you're going to extend it to dependents, of your principal, you already know what it is. Unfunded requirements. Last year, we had a lot of unfunded requirements. Did you have a reserve to be able to let people work remotely? It gave, we were not ready for extra internet, extra voice from home. You know, there were many things, maybe buy extra furniture for people at home. So things like that, things that really come and they were not actually put as were not budgeted in the budget for that was prepared. So I keep on saying one of the things around HR is, are we really costing people the way they're supposed to be costed? If you are asked, how much does it cost to the very letter around keeping someone around their tea, their coffee in a month, would you be able to cost it? It looks very mundane and very, I mean, we all take tea. The tea is worth 200K and maybe just divide by 100 employees. So, you know, everybody uses 200. Well, enough. I think that is fine. And by the time someone is coming, the space that they're using in the office per square foot, you know, there are some organizations that really go into analysis of their costs, for everything that they produce, so that they have the real cost. By the time I'm taking this product to the market, I know it's a fair cost and that it is. A friend of mine who does farming, that reminds me, her farm is very mechanized, and she knows that by the time and of course she uses experts to farm and stuff, by the time the onion is coming from the farm, it has costed her 2 shillings and 35 cents to the letter. So she's able to cost her products very well without having to, it's not a gut feeling. I bought fertilizer worth 100,000, the farm with fertilizer worth 30,000, you know, and of course that happens, you know, if you're a telephone farmer, it's hard to succeed, but anyway, that's the thing. Projections and targets, what are we going to do? So under the financial aspect, okay. Internal perspective, someone read for us, please, and maybe just give an example and summarize. Someone? Internal, just like what it is on the screen. Someone read for us.
To satisfy our customers, in which business process must we excel? Possible performance measures are cycle times, completion rate, workload and employee utilization, transaction by employees, and errors of rework. So basically they are talking about how much we have to quantify, how much it takes to maybe to offer service or to develop a product. So we have to look at maybe error rates, and then employee utilization. So do we have employees who are not engaged fully, they are not working? How long does it take to complete a product? You know, all those things, so that we come up with the exact measures to measure this particular
internal
aspect.
perspective.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much, Nancy. Finally, learning and growth. Someone can read for us and summarize and maybe give some examples.
Okay, I'll read.
Thank you, Annie.
To achieve our goals and accomplish core activities, how must we learn, communicate, and work together? Possible performance measures, employee satisfaction, retention and turnover, training hours and resources, technology investment.
Oh, great, yeah. Anything that you would like to add around, it really dwells on people And we are talking about people and performance management. Are these some of the measures that we use for HR to be able to give out, prepare our board papers, prepare our senior management papers, prepare presentations for potential investors, you know, look at some of these, the data that we're able to get and be able to inform us to either upgrade a policy, downgrade. It could be, you know, allow us to become more progressive around the area of learning and growth in the area of performance management of action. Anyone who'd like to add anything here?
Yes, Catherine, I would like to speak to the last two perspectives.
Yeah.
Yeah, the internal perspective and the learning and growth. But generally speaking, I think it's important we also appreciate that, of course, in an organization, there will be different functions or departments, so to speak. There could be HR, there could be marketing, finance, and the rest of them. It's important that we appreciate that all these four perspectives apply in all those functions.
Yeah.
And that even as we prepare our performance appraisals for each and every member of staff, it's important that they are seen to be contributing towards any of those ones. Generally speaking, the internal perspective normally takes the highest marks, because basically that is what each and every employee does wherever they are. It's important to appreciate that, whatever you do. And we need to appreciate that perhaps what we may see as the measures, of course, I like the way you have put them, possible, because they can be more than this, and they can be specific to what we actually do. Because the measures for the marketing manager, for instance, may not be the same for the HR.
Very true.
And maybe looking at the last one, learning and the growth, we need to appreciate that it's not entirely an HR function. In fact, basically what has come up here is what the HR will need to do. But you as a person in finance, what is your role towards contributing to that learning and the growth? In your performance appraisal, what measure should you have? Of course, the common one is whereby at least you'll be able to lead people to come up the training needs. Maybe that's a contribution. Maybe use of the technology which is in place, that's the other bit. And all these other systems which are within the control of the particular department besides the HR. So I think it's important that we appreciate that when you go back to our organizations, we wouldn't go and feel that the HR, once they do, they put the four measures in place, we are good to go. No. There's somebody in finance who needs to do something to do with learning and growth. Somebody in marketing who need to do something around there. And of course, internal perspectives are all the things we are supposed to do in our different departments. We should always score the highest, over 50%, around 50 to 70%. Exactly. And that's how we need to be able to appreciate. On the financial and the regulatory, basically what I've also seen for, if you are in finance, for instance, of course, it comes out okay. But suppose you are in HR, basically how are you contributing towards the two dimensions of finance, which is either revenue raising activities or expenditure management activities without stifling the growth of the organization. So anything around there, we need to be able to look at measures around there. So I wanted to ensure that once we go back, we don't think that these things are compartmentalized in different departments, but we are all innate together. Yeah. The only thing is it varies from one department to another.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Peter, for summarizing that. And for us to remember that the balance scorecard looks at the business in its entirety. So it makes sure that all of us can participate in these four perspectives. Some departments will they will find it much easier. Let's put it like that. And that's what people have said. If I'm in finance, the balance scorecard, and people just is where I should be able to give the best and bring in the best. And because I'm in finance and that's what I know. And growth, people think, oh, wow, I'm in learning and growth, and this is where people are and stuff like that. So that is also the perspective and the wrong notion of people actualizing the balance scorecard and lack of that understanding, that's where people say it's complex and it's not ideal for us. And then when you think about the internal perspective, people just think, oh, quality assurance, and it should be left for them, and the heart of the business and the technical aspect. And then the customer perspective, those are salespeople, those are marketing people, those are business development people. Everybody, when you use the balance scorecard as a basis of defining the objectives of a business, everybody will have a stake, and some will be more weight for an individual compared to others. So it's important that we give the right weight, and the right weight will be informed by our strategy. So thank you, Peter, for just bringing that and reminding us that we should not just take one area of the balance scorecard and say, this is what really is for my area, and this is what we will work on. No, 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 no. If we use the balance scorecard, all of us will be expected to understand, how do I contribute as a department or as an individual who's an expert in HR around the customer perspective? How do I contribute as an individual, as a department, around the financial perspective, the internal perspective, which is really the technical aspect of everybody? And what Peter has said here, most of the time really takes the bigger percentage, and then learning and growth. Who am I? What am I bringing to the organization? So great, yeah. Anybody good? Can we now brag and boast that, well, I know about the balance scorecard. It's not that we thought, ooh, it's easy. Yeah, thank you, Nancy. Can see your hand up.
I have a question. I need some help here from the team.
Yeah.
So when we are doing measuring matrices in HR, for example, if we are to measure the cost of hire, so usually you look at things like, total costs. So including from advertisement, time spent by hiring managers in this process, time spent in orientation, all those things. So I would like to know, what tools are people using to be able to capture this data? So that any information that we give, any numbers that we give, so that they're credible. So what are people using in the organizations?
Yeah. So yeah, thank you, Nancy, for that. What tools are we using in organizations? Let's share for us to come up with these metrics. What tools are you using to be able to know how much time it took to hire? How much time it took to hire? Time to hire, time, for example, let's take a very simple one, time to hire. What tools are we using?
I think, Catherine, maybe just to try to assist as others also think it through. What I've come across is, of course, it's important when you have policies and procedures in place, which of course indicates that from the time of maybe developing the needs for extra staff or reorganization or whatever it is, up to the time of placing the advert, taking people through the whole system of recruitment, deployment, and all that. Of course, the costs would be picked by finance, and of course, what happens in finance, they normally have those budget lines. Like this is what it will cost us. So of course, against the budget, you'll be measured. So of course, that's why the HR has to work closely with the finance so that they can be able to see how much it has cost, to be able to recruit in terms of Kenya shillings, whatever it is. In terms of timelines are normally guided by the policies and the procedures in place, because you cannot advertise a job 2 years down. 2 years ago, you are still recruiting back and forth and all these kind of things, and it doesn't seem to be coming to an end. So it's important we have kind of timelines, and of course the kind of the whole HR kind of process whereby, of course, right from when you go to the market to look for new hires, up to the time somebody is confirmed, that may need to really come out clear. And all these things, of course, must also be within, the law. Of course, we all know the labor laws. You cannot keep somebody a casual forever. All these things must, the timelines, of course, must be defined in simple documents, of course, drawn from the supporting laws and the best practices and all that. And of course, that's how you will measure against what you are doing, whether you are meeting your targets or not. And of course, where we have the strategic plan, of course, must have a pillar when it comes to matters HR. And of course, within there, that's so now you bring it down to the level of process and the procedure, and then you can be able to measure. So this must be defined. The organization must sit down and define these things. And then when you put it in practice, you see whether you are getting things done within time or out of time. So I mean, that's the simplest way it's done. It's never one straight way, but for lack of tools in place, then whatever you do, be reasonable. If it is time, let it be reasonable time. If it's a recruitment, let it be at reasonable cost. That kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Peter. Anybody else who would like to share the experience internally using to measure?
Especially if anyone is using any system, I would like to know, automated processes.
Yeah. Automated processes. Anyone? Let's share what we are doing. So let me take just a simple example of time taken to hire. We know best industry practice that turnaround time to fill is 90 days. From the time we manpower planning, 90 days turnaround time. So how do we quantify the 90 days turnaround time? It also takes into consideration. So we start from the end in mind, saying that maybe the person will be bringing in, and it's just maybe a normal position where maybe someone would need 1 month to give notice. So we know that we've got only 60 days to be able to put our internal processes together. So what I have done over time, and I'm giving you my own experiences, to work very closely with the line managers and the hiring managers. Maybe the board has approved 30 positions for this year. And those 30 positions may be as to when they will come. Some will come in March, some will come in June, some will come in August. I'm very clear about manpower planning. And policy also informs many other things, like our turnaround time for hire is 90 days. And how are we going to make sure that we get the most suitable candidates coming to join? I leave the technical capability, which we're able to whatever, but suitability around, we are very clear and a good fit for our culture. So all those things have been defined, but let's take time for hire. If we say that we are going to advertise this job, all the processes that form by our JD is okay. Our requisition form has been signed off by all the other people, finance, the hiring manager. If the CEO has to sign that form, even give it 2 days. You started moving the process. Then after that, and even put it on a simple, you don't have those complicated HRMS systems that have deals of even hiring. Then after that, that ideally, maybe I need to give this advert 2 weeks. It's already 3 weeks are gone there, isn't it? Then the first long list takes maybe another 1 week. The moment it closes, that we start shortlisting. If you have a system, you run a system, give it the parameters, 1 week is gone. You even give yourself 1 week. Then you push that file to the hiring manager and say, this will meet the criteria. I'm giving you 3 days. By then, concurrently, you're saying the people who will be sitting in this panel is the hiring manager, some technical people. You're already talking to them and something like that. Then how many interviews are going to go into this position. There might be oral interviews. There might be some oral interviews. What else do we do? Some psychometrics. They are going to take another 2 weeks. You are still moving. And in my office, you will see a big chart. It's almost like people going to space. I'm pushing that, and it's from green, it's going green, and then in some positions you see it's turning red. It is crimson red of I am about to bust my head because it's gotten green and it's gotten red, and I'm 90 days and it's red. I've not moved the process because, again, maybe there are challenges. You get what I mean? So time for hire, it's very easy, and you can be able to segment of from the time the form comes, short advertising 2 weeks. We close the shortlist, we are good. 1 week, maybe the person who was long listing has so maybe nobody else can be able to long list. We are stuck there. The person comes back. Do we give them a day to be able to, 2 days to be able to move the process? We give it to the hiring manager. So there are some things that you need a bit of more flexibility. We are not saying that the 90 days can be allocated along that. Then in terms of the real costing, did you use any agency to run the advert for you? Are you using an agency to bring in this, whatever? Are you going to pay bus fare for this, going to reimburse fare? Maybe people are coming out. These are costs that you are actually putting in your hire. Are you going to buy lunch for these people? Are you going to buy any psychometrics that you'll be using? These are the costs that you are hire. By the time I bring in Nancy as our HR officer, how much have I used in this hiring? Because it was not only Nancy interviewed. Nancy was the successful candidate, but I brought in, from the time I started, it cost me 200,000. Was it in the budget? Yes. Maybe the budget to hire this position was 250. Have I saved 50,000? Yes. Where is that 50? So it's like that. You get what I mean? So the of the organization, some costs are hard to pick. Like if I pull you 2 hours core business to come and help us in the hiring process, to sit in the interview, I'm not able to cost that, because I will say it's part of your work. It's part of your JD. You get what I mean? But tangible costs that you can actually pull, and working together with the finance team, then you're able to say, at the end of the year, we brought in 30 heads. And these 30 heads, the interview process, the hiring process, we used 2 million in the hiring process. You might also be able to cost some things like maybe stationery, easy. If you say that we'll need 50,000 for stationery just to hire in 30 heads. We'll need biros, we'll need printing services, that those which have already been fed, like every time I go to print, it's 2 shillings, at the end, it's, these things are complicated. I work for an organization like that. We used to go to the printing room, big machines, and whatever, at the end of the month, I could see, oh, our department has used 50,000 to print documents. It was just cost ledger, cost to cost, for us to be able to manage costs as well. You get what I mean? And also to stop any misuse, that I can bring all my work and print, just to stop those kind of misuse. But anyway, it is possible for you to do that, and using even simple tools like Excel. A metrics like turnover, we know, again, if you have more than 10% of your turnover, if you're exceeding more than 10%, then you're not within the industry practice. If it's 12%, there's a problem. If 12% of your workforce is leaving, then you need to look at your tools around survey. What are people saying? Your exit interviews, the processes that we are talking about. Why are people exiting? And you form data for you to be able to implement some of the things that people are saying. Absenteeism, you're able to do that as well. Check all the people who have been run a system, or if it's poor, if you're using forms, record them and see how many people have been away this month, and why are they annual leave, they're entitled to that. Sick leave, they're entitled to that. If someone is sick, they're sick, or emergency leave, which was not planned for. So you're also able to categorize depending. HR work is not easy. Strategic HR work, that's what I'm talking at, and that's where we should be at. So you cost all that and see how much is it, how much leave liability we still have in our books when you're reporting. And then you pick a pattern. Now this pattern is emerging. This department actually goes on Friday, everybody takes leave. What does it mean for our productivity? So you're able to make informed decisions based on the patterns that you see from your data. You're able to cost some very clearly based on the cost that you have used, because you're able to quantify some of those costs, but some are it's very hard. Like what I have said, well, I ask you to invite you to sit in this interview, accompany this candidate for lunch, I'm not able to cost specifically because it's part of your work. Anybody who would like to that? And there are many metrics. I can send you, Nancy, 52 metrics that you need to use for HR.
Thank
52.
You so much.
52.
Thank you.
If you call me.
I'll appreciate. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Anybody else who has a big gang chat in their office, going amber and screaming at yourself in the morning and say, ooh, what's happening here? Anybody else would like to give us some insights of what they are doing in the organization, how they actually break down these functions, especially in HR, to be able to learn? Something that you have seen previously that worked for you. Okay. Feel free to share. Sometimes when I read out your names, Agnes, Lucy, Paula, Carol, Rispa, Janet, Ketri, Benjamin, Wellington, Immaculate. So I'm just going through the panel of my list of names, which appear very quickly. So targets, what are some of the targets that we'll be looking at? Targets need to be set for all measures, should have solid bases, give personnel something to which to aim for, and if achieved, they will actually transform the organization. So from all these possible measures from a balanced scorecard, when we look at what we'll be measuring, then if we set targets for all these measures, and they have solid bases. You remember yesterday we said they must be very solid, they must be value-based, they must be incremental, they must be challenging. We must give people something to aim for, and then finally we will achieve what we want in the organization. Also at the same time be able to do what? Meet the goals of the organization. Okay, so once measures and targets are established, it is the responsibility of management to decide how the organization will achieve its goals. Measures are used for effectiveness of strategic activities, all the tools that we have talked about. Any question there before we move? I'd like us to move to the next area. Any question? Okay. So let's continue. The aim of performance management in an organization. Someone read for us and maybe just summarize. Feel free to unmute and summarize what is on the screen. And it's things that we have discussed over and over again. We'll move a bit faster now after discussing the balance scorecard.
Performance management for the organization. To give feedback to the staff about their performance, encourages good work and points towards improvement opportunity, helps setting measurable targets and objectives, increase role clarity.
I'd like to read. Continue.
Helps to point out training and development needs, helps decide compensation and rewards, helps in career planning, enhance corporate value.
Very true. Are you able to summarize for us? Very easy in terms of why we need to have performance management in an organization. Any feedback, any experience? Is this what happens in the organizations? Is this what happens in many organizations? See, all this work towards motivating. That's the thing, give feedback, set measurable targets and objectives. It increases my clarity in the in my role, helps in my career planning. Retarded question that we like to ask: where do you see yourself in 5 years? Wonder, well, I'm not a magician. I don't know how I'm going to see myself. So just let me work, and we keep on working towards it. 5 years, we will see where we are. Of course, it's good to have a plan. You can't go saying that. But, and of course, everybody has dreams and aspirations. I think it's important. But if you ask me that question, are you going to remember it and say, I'd like to see myself head of a department. I see many opportunities here. This is where I have applied for this job. And then as you are managing my performance, help my training needs, are you helping me reach my aspirations of being head of department? Even if I know I might not be 5 years because the head of department is not going anywhere, are you getting me ready to be ready when there's an opportunity? And sometimes we might also know that we lose people along the way. And let's train for Africa. Let's train for African leaders. Let's be so happy to know that, Peter used to work in this office. He's now the director. He's the CS of labor. He worked here, and some of the things that I see him doing is as a result of some of the trainings that he underwent in our organization. Very proud. And if you call Peter, Peter will pick your phone and say, hey, Bana, how are you? Up here, but thank you. You helped me get to where I am. So sometimes let's not shy away from training people to the highest level that we can, because we are scared that they might leave. What if we don't train them and they stay? There's always that joke between the CEO and the CFO. The CFO saying, no, it's too expensive. We'll train, they leave, and then the CEO says, what if we train them and then they stay? If we don't train them and then they stay, career planning, and also enhances corporate value, which is very important. Your employee value proposition. Why does one company receive 100 applications when they advertise a job and another one only receives 10? It's about perception and what people have found about your organization. And would they like to join you? Yes. Would they like to join? Maybe not join you. It's up to you to ensure that you continue enhancing your brand. Okay. Characteristics of a performance management in organizations. Someone can read for organizations. Someone can read for us. And maybe just summarize for us as well.
I can read.
Thank you.
Measurable performance targets. Then manage learning linked with organizational goals on the one hand, and with career development on the other. Preeminence of intrinsic needs of managers without neglecting the extrinsic needs. And then ownership of performance management by line management rather than personal function.
Yeah, thank you. The ownership, performance management managed organizations are likely to have the following characteristics, you know, a character. So what is a character? What's the character of your organization? If you were to define it, would you be able to define it in a few sentences or in just a few words? What's the character of the organization? If someone, we never think about it, you know, but when we really have strong performance management systems, then it's very easy for us to be able to define the organization, you know, the characteristics. We set targets. It's no brainer. Everybody knows that they work here. You know, we link learning goals, on the other hand, with career preeminence of intrinsic and extrinsic values. You know, what I bring, intrinsic, extrinsic, you can't explain, but it's there. You know, ownership of performance management by life rather than a personnel function. You know, where we say that it's the line managers who are actually doing what? Who are actually performing that area. And they're not just coming at the end of the year or the review time to manage that. And even it's whether we do it or not, it has no consequences like what we had yesterday. Some people will do it, some people will not do it, you know. So what do we do? But the HR has a place to make sure that they're actually mainstreaming that and showing the importance of ensuring performance management is kicked in at all levels in the organization. Okay, any question there? Any question? Characteristics? I'll let you pause there, and maybe if you have a notebook and just write, what are the main characteristics of my organization? And then maybe just of my organization, and then after that, maybe just challenge yourself further and say, does my organization, if I have performance management, are these really the characteristics that are embedded around organization in the area of performance management? Do we feel that this is what really is happening and everybody is able to follow through and enjoy? You remember where we say that we need to make sure that we're enjoying it. Okay. Strategy focus organization look at these more 4 measures. Someone read for us. We've already met them before, and even we had already what's the definition of a mission and vision, strategies and measures. So mission, what we do, this is what we do. We offer quality health, we offer quality trainings. Maybe that's ACHRP vision. What we aspire to be a body of knowledge, impacting people, business people out there. Strategies, how do we accomplish our goals? What are some, how do we accomplish our goals? Measures, indicators of our progress. How are we progressing? Are we growing? You know, and growth can be measured along many lines. Are we increasing our head count? Is our profit increasing? Are we opening other branches across the country? You know, progress. Is our brand now much more attractive compared to where we began? So measures, external measures and also internal measures. Okay. Someone please read for me and read and set the pace for us there. Strategic performance management systems.
Strategic directions, create environment for change, communicate strategies, define objectives, implement balanced scorecard. Balanced scorecard, measure performance, improve processes, evaluate and adjust continuous improvement, redefined initiatives.
Exactly. So the strategic performance management system, this is how it looks like. We have a strategic direction. We create environment for change. We communicate those strategies. we define objectives, and then one of the things that we can do is implement the balance scorecard. And it's nice, we've seen that it's not difficult. We've been using the balance scorecard, maybe just not in a very strategic way or not in a very mainstreamed way in many organizations, and then the balance we put in the measures, and then we measure the performance processes. And then the thing is that we need to evaluate and adjust. We have continuous improvement and redefine initiatives. We want to continuously grow. We look at the challenges and say, where has this challenge come from? We need to debrief. We've been hit by something that we didn't expect. This risk was real. We didn't see it. We did not measure the risk correctly, and now it has come into place. How are we going to elevate and make sure that we get back on track? So we link all this together, looking from the very beginning, setting the pace and setting the platform for performance. Then after that, we are actually communicating it to everyone. Then we put in measures and we keep improving the processes internally and externally. And then we are evaluating. Again, I come back and emphasize the place where we all talk big. We talk big, and we don't actualize what we have said. It's time for us to know that the only way for us to be able to actualize what we have said and put it in place is our ability to evaluate. We asked you to do this. Have you done it? Let's evaluate it. We've asked, especially around things dealing with people and culture. Like, I don't know who gave an example. I want you guys to be team players. You come and you tell us nice things, or you leave us on an all high, and you've not given us the framework to be able to do that. You've come and gone. So what are we supposed to do? Just be able to do that much more for us to actualize and to be able to evaluate what does it mean to be working in a team? What does it mean to be a team player? And how are we going to evaluate that we are now we've become one? We are working, all of us together, to be able to meet the objectives. Okay. Or even not just, sometimes we don't have to agree with all these things. You might say, this is not the right time for us to be doing these things. Our focus is somewhere very different. And you say, oh, yes, indeed, and let's pack this and whatever. And I'm not just saying around the attitudes and the attributes and the values of organization. Talking about everything that the organization needs to do. You can even say, we are not ready for this product just because the competitor has unveiled their product and everybody is rushing there. Ours is still half-baked. Let's perfect it and then roll it out in the market. Bigger, stronger, revamped. So great. Okay. Key to performance management. Someone read for us and maybe summarize. Key to performance management. Someone read for us, please.
Building organizational capability and successful implementation of high commitment management practices is a key managerial responsibility. High performance management practices require consistent leadership attention, while time and attention are the scarcest of resources in most organizations.
Okay, you're able to unpack that for us? Thank you for reading. And maybe just give an example from a work perspective around performance management. Just summarizing around building organizational capability, implementation of high commitment. Everybody needs to be committed. That's what we are saying. High performance management practices require consistent leadership, and everybody is a leader, and we all talked about, when we were talking about influencing people the other day, one of the things we talked about the principles of building influence, principles of influencing people is scarcity. And we talked about time, we talked about resources, and we can see that it actually just follows through. Time continues to be a scarce, resource. And how do we use it to the best of our abilities to be able to manage performance? It just calls for the 4 management functions: controlling, prioritizing, planning. I can't remember what the others are, but anyway. The key to performance management lies in 3 basic principles, which effective leaders use to transform the organizations into high commitment models of management. These are building trust, encouraging change, using appropriate measures. Okay. Anyone? How do we build trust in an organization? How do we encourage change? We have seen how to use appropriate measures and how to measure, how to put in objectives for everybody to understand.
Yeah, to build trust in an organization, there has to be clear communication channels and communication, the way it is. So if a company is not able to give salary increments, for example, then the employees must understand why. So communicating about the performance, how much we've made as a company, all that, including, bottom line, and just also trying to involve employees in most of the processes and in some levels of decision making. So when there's that closeness and inclusion of different stakeholders, then we can build trust.
Very true.
Yes, and how to encourage change. Obviously, it has to be an inclusive process, and having employees as change managers themselves. We have employees as change agents within an organization, and just also having different aspects of change measured and included into the performance management process. So if there's something you want to see, and to institutionalize this change, then we can convert what we want to see into values and put them in our, include them in our performance system, and then we measure. So that's how we can encourage change.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Culture continues to be a strong driver in building trust, in encouraging change, open communication. It's all about communication. And we talked about the broken telephone, where what the MD said is very different, but putting the realities on the table. We made 10 million shillings as profit this year. These 10 million feel that there should be no increment this year for all of us, including you, because we want to plow it back into the business to be able to put this product that we have been working on earlier into the market, and then start driving it. And we know that this is one of the things that is going to make our company very successful. There might be some mamas and anybody who thinks differently, and maybe someone will raise their hand and say, oh, okay, we've worked so hard. Boss, we've worked too hard. How about taking 8 million into the product which we have all been working very hard towards, and this 2 million, sharing it out amongst us, tujirudishie shukurani. A good suggestion. Maybe we had not looked into it. And someone else says, well, okay, how about us using all the 10 million, and that 10 million, once we hit the product into the market, we launch it, it starts making money. You promise that with that comes in, you'll be able to give us a bonus. Give people the opportunity to contribute to what you have said. Don't just come. And then as a good listener, as a good leader, you'll come back and say, commitment around that other slide that we have just left, commitment to management practices, and come and say, well, let's go and think through that and give you an answer. At least you've made people feel that they are included. Okay. So many times, so any questions? Nancy, for really also breaking it down and very well. And I've just put it in with an example. So performance management versus performance appraisal. Appraisal is what performance, when we think about, and we've shifted, you know, even when we came here, we knew that performance management is the key. But we also want to highlight and say that what happens in a performance appraisal and what happens in performance management. Someone can read for us? And a performance appraisal, it still has a very prominent place in the world of performance management.
I'll read on performance appraisal.
Yeah, thank you, Helen.
Individual objectives may be included. Some qualitative performance objectives may also be included. Annual appraisal, ratings, backward looking, focus on levels of performance and merit, top-down system, monolithic system, usually tailor-made, complex paperwork, often linked to performance pay, applied to all to all staff. There's something covering my screen, owned by HR department.
Okay. Very traditional of a real performance appraisal of what it was. But now we have done what? We have moved to performance management. And let's look at what are some of the characteristics of performance management. Looking into the future. Someone read for us.
I can read that.
Thank you.
Performance management focus on organizational and individual objectives, covers both outputs, results, and inputs, competencies, all the year round, may not have ratings, forward-looking, focused on development as well as performance, joint process, flexible process, tailor-made, paperwork minimized, may not be linked to performance pay, applied to all staff, owned by line managers.
Exactly. Thank you. So where would we like to be as an organization?
Performance
or even
management.
as
Performance
yes,
management.
yeah, isn't it performance management? Because that's what we have been talking about from yesterday, and just driving it into today's session. So it really looks at everybody owning it and everybody understanding it. All ear in, ear out. We're looking at it. It's forward looking. This is what I did, and I want to increase. I want to be better. I want to continue growing. Okay. Any question there? Before we go into some of the performance appraisal methods, which we all know, no brainer. Now getting into what HR helps a lot in organization. So how different work efforts based on a performance management view? Someone read for us. I like the millennials, how they've got swag over there. You know, this is us working together as a team. How do we define goals and work efforts? Remember that in performance management, we are trying to, it covers both outputs, the results, and inputs, the competencies that you're bringing. Someone defining goals and efforts?
The main purpose of any organization is to make sure that all the employees work towards the strategic goal of the company. For this purpose, it is crucial that the company should define well-defined and clear goals and work efforts to each employee. Each employee should clearly show his goals and work effort. He should know towards which direction he's working each day. It is essential that the goals and the work effort defined should be specific, measurable, challenging, practically feasible, and encourages participation.
Thank you very much. Yeah. So we are saying that everybody should understand what is the strategic direction of the organization. You know, I have clearly defined goals and work efforts. You know, I totally understand that, and it has been clarified. If I don't understand, then I should go to my line manager and say, hey, boss, can we talk about this, and let's get understanding. You remember yesterday where we said that during orientation of a new employee, we should be able to define and really take the onboarding process very, very seriously, so that someone is able to settle in the department, in the organization, in their role, and become successful in it. And that should be defined and documented. And it's not 3 months later and say, oh, okay, we didn't set probation targets. How do we do that? You know, you've performing, and then people come, the line manager comes and says, this person has not been performing. It's because we do not have performance. We are not using performance, the old traditional way of performance appraisal. You know, it's continuous conversations that you're not performing every day. Let me help you here. What's the problem? And then all of a sudden, well, it's now become, we need to have a discussion with you and let's document it. So by the time someone is taking me to the next in an organization, I already know that it's not an ambush. I already know those discussions have been happening in the background, and it has to be consequences to be taken. So let's endeavor to do that. Okay. So how do we define goals? SMART goals. We all know that they should be specific, they should be measurable. I'm not going to belabor over this. They should be attainable, not too tough, not too easy, relevant to what is supposed to be achieved within the strategic objectives of the organization. And then they should be timely, you know, focusing on milestones and really celebrating those milestones as well. So it's continuous to what it is. So let's look at the performance criteria. Someone who'd like to read for us the performance criteria?
Okay. Performance criteria.
Thank you, Lucy.
Performance criteria helps to translate job requirements into levels of acceptable or unacceptable employee behavior. It is essential to define performance criteria for conducting a performance appraisal.
Hence, performance criteria.
Hence, performance criteria is an important determination of performance.
Yeah, an important determinant of performance criteria. How are we going to do that? It's the whole being who's being assessed, you know, the technical aspect, and also me as an employee. The acceptable behaviors, then the unacceptable behaviors. You know, I could be good at my work, but my behavior is really rough in the organization. I have rough edges, you know. I'm those ones who, instead of good morning, the product will be out of the factory in 5 minutes. You know, it takes 5 minutes to get you the product. So why are you asking? Sit there and wait. Different. You know, one is very receptive to what you knowing that the customer is important. You know, yes, the customer has come. It takes 5 minutes. A tone of voice that shows that I'm the one in authority. The customer is the one in authority, is the one who has kept you there. And because your product is good, that is why they are coming to buy. So performance criteria plays a critical role in job analysis, performance appraisal linkage. It is critical to performance criteria, as it is important to have a standard by which to compare good behavior. Hence, you need to see that the predators are what a company look for in an individual while hiring criteria and the every employee. It is important to note here that there's always a gap observation between the theoretical and the ideal versus the criteria versus the actual criteria. What we mean here is, when you're hiring me, it's very difficult to know exactly who this individual is till you actually start working with them. I can say I'm able to do all these and this and this and this and that. You know, I tick the boxes. I look like it for the organization until I come in and you just discover it's not good. It's not working for us. So performance criteria will continue being for you to be able to determine how to appraise the person and translate that job into the acceptable levels, because it is the person who is actually doing what? Doing the job. Any question before we go to the performance appraisal methods, which are many, and we'll take the most popular ones that organizations, most of them are very retarded, but they still have a place. Some people still use them. Any question? Pick one that looking at the performance appraisal methods, the methods that we can use. They are online. These are tools, you know, paper to pen, pen to paper, whatever we call it. This is where the rubber meets the road. I have my targets, you know, and this is how we are going now to measure performance. Whether you are a 3, a 2, a 1, a 0, a high performer, we are going to use a tool that will enable us rate you to how have performed in the targets that we set, the criteria that we use for you to be able to get to the next level, whether it has a reward attached to it, which we say that if it doesn't have a reward, then we think people really find it difficult and discouraging to do performance appraisals, or people think, well, it's time, let's wrap it this. It's just a wrap up. We've been talking around the whole thing, around the whole year. We've been evaluating, and this is just a documented document for filing and for future reference. Anyone who's able to pick one, the one that they use most? I know the 360-degree feedback is very popular. Management by objective, where is the supervisor and the employee. Those are the two more. What is the 360? How do we 60? How is the 360 used? Which one? For management by objective. Most popular ones that most organizations use. Methods of appraisal. Someone, please. Unmute. Do we use the 3? And what's your understanding of the 360?
Under 360 degrees feedback,
yeah,
the employees are rated by the managers, the supervisors, and the supervisors are also rated by the employees. So it's a top-down and a bottom-up and a lateral kind of appraisal.
What are the advantages of using this appraisal method?
My experience is that you get to know management weaknesses, and from what I capture in the data, I'm able to develop programs to develop the managers.
Especially in the area of competencies and behaviors and values of the organization. Someone else, the advantages of using 360-degree feedback as your appraisal method. Advantages of using 360.
Another advantage is it identifies development opportunities to the company.
Identifies development opportunities. Yeah, you can be able to say which development trainings that you need, and that is that's a standard across all appraisal methods tools that you will use. something else that really 360 is unique to 360 when you use the 360-degree feedback, where I'm rated by my superior, I'm rated by my line manager, by my juniors, and by my peers. You know, it's 360. It's everybody giving their input.
I think it actually helps to increase transparency in the organization.
Yeah. For example, yeah, Eunice, I like that here. Helps really increase transparency and ownership in the organization, because then you are getting feedback from many people, and many people. So if we all come and say, Catherine, you are very impatient, and give you instances where you have been impatient, then 5 of us cannot be wrong. And you know, it's you only get to choose one person in a good 360, the way it's your supervisor gets to choose the person who will be peering you upwards, the people who will be peering you downwards. You only get to choose your peer. And then with all that feedback, you would not be wrong. It's verifiable, and they've given whatever. And also, it's more objective, because then if your supervisor say this, and most of the time they will not gauge you on the technical aspect of the job, it's more behavioral. You know, how you be carrying out the values, you know, and all that. So there's they say 3, 2, 1, and they give examples. They also give you really good feedback around the things that you really do well. 360 will only work in a mature organization where there's no witch hunting, you know, where people say, it's time to settle. It can be misused and abused in organizations where we don't like each other, and we've not had opportunities to discuss and understand who we are and settle any undercurrents that they might be. You remember where we said about really performance around a focus on the organizational and individual objectives. It's not just me that you're actually rating, you're also rating the organization, how I fit into this organization. It actually covers the outputs, competencies, how the behaviors that I bring, and behaviors all around. So we encourage that we're always giving feedback. We're also soliciting for feedback. It's a joint process. This joint process is to help us improve our organization as a whole. So it's not just owned by. Thank you very much. Anything else about 360? Very popular. Many organizations tend to use it. Okay. The other one is management by objectives, where it's just a form, comprehensive form that the manager rates me, and I rate myself. We have a discussion. We are able to understand what has gone on the whole year, and then we just we have a discussion. You know, what are my training aspirations, development aspirations? This year, I think I should be promoted. I deserve a bonus and stuff like that. So all these other ones, I'm sure you are familiar with them. The essay, appraisal, I write an essay, I keep writing, you know, they all have a place. You know, different organizations will do different things. Graphic rating scale, you have a graph and you plot it. Behavioral anchored scales, you know, it's more behavioral and where it is and where you are. Critical incidences, what are some of the incidences that happened during the year, and it only focuses on that. A checklist, you come on time, did you finish? You know, really a checklist, nothing much. So what we're trying to say is progressively use appraisal methods and tools really that capture that ideal for the 21st century way of working, and the reflective of the organization and moving forward, that you can be able to make informed decisions about how they will carry themselves as they work in this organization. So very ideal, and you can be able to go back and reference and say, 2000, you were still here. This is how it is. You've progressed. We have seen progress. And analyzing that data for an individual and say, this is where we think that she is progressing and it's a good way. She's on the right path, or reorganizing to see. It also gives you an opportunity to be able to mainstream change in an. So use a tool that is easy, it's within your means to run data to help you inform, make decisions for the organization. You also need to make sure that people do understand, everybody, and is transparent, and people have an opportunity to question anything that you put on that paper before they sign it off. Okay, yeah. So key components of performance, it will have all that feedback from the client. Some will go as far as asking other external people to give feedback. Overall performance summary, it will give the employees accomplishment in summary. It will have development plans, like what we have said. It will have merit recommendations. What are we going to do? What are we going to commend you for? Either a bonus or a salary increment, merit increment, or that, or even just recognize you as a star performer in this area. Goal setting for upcoming year, review the goals and accomplishments, performance feedback and appraisal meeting. It also gives you an opportunity to see you would have done better. And I don't think, if we are all looking at performance management in totality and actualizing it the way it should be, I don't think anybody should have any cause for worry that PIP at a certain review period, when the review period is coming. You shouldn't, because if I was to be put on a PIP, if we only do performance twice a year in June and December, I should have been put on PIP in March, because I'm not performing. We've talked. So it's not a surprise, like, you've not been performing. Okay. So evaluation ratings, we all know that you can use many, and many are used by different different ratings are used by different organizations. It can be 1 for poor, 5 for outstanding. It can be, so you can use either meets expectations on how you define them, and giving a rating so that people know overall, when we've put your performance and we've graded it, this area you scored a 4, this one you scored a 2, and do an average and it comes to 4, then maybe, and 4 is you exceed expectations or you meet expectations. So don't we all get very, very, very baffled in HR, where everybody exceeds their expectations, but when we look at our business output, it doesn't just match, and that's when the calibration starts happening. Is managers are so afraid of giving the right rating to employees because they will upset them, and all of us are either in outstanding or exceeds expectations, when all of us know that we are standard performers. 80% standard. Those are the forms that should be, those are the reports we should, and the bell curve takes a natural curve. But when we run it and everybody exceeds expectations, but the result output are not in tandem, that's when we return those forms. And how can you, and every year in, year out, you're always complaining about your team. And all of a sudden, at the end of the year, they're exceeding expectations. Those discussions, we should be able to filter and have discussions with line managers. Even when you're inducting them to performance management, you should be able to tell them, rate objectively, give feedback objectively, give the rating that is in tandem with your department's performance. So if your department is always last, how can we be outstanding in the end of the forms? Because we know that it's pegged to a certain reward. That is not acceptable. And be ready to return the forms. You know, the time we are giving you outstanding, we should all be singing of your praise. Even the board chair knows you. They hear of, oh, Helen, is she still around? I hope you're treating her well. You know, she's a star performer. She should be staying. So that is the thing that so outstanding. I won't go through them because then we all know what it means and be able to calibrate in the right way. So when calibration starts and people say, but I got outstanding, all of a sudden I am standard. Indeed, you are standard because that is where we are. Standing, it shows, it actually shows. Remember that the SMART goals should be stretching you to perform better over and above your call of, and it takes very few people in an organization to be able to do that. Yeah. So before the appraisal, very things that we all do understand. Now those forms have been sent. The email has been sent by whatever. We should be able to keep good records to be able to refer to what we said at the beginning of the year, of the previous year, be able to use them as a basis of reference, review previous goals, get in others, prepare carefully, and prepare administrative details. I would like to emphasize on prepare carefully because many people, the line manager and the employee, don't prepare adequately the way it's supposed to. They just never give importance and value around performance appraisal. You know, just sitting down and saying, I will fill this form, the appraisal period has opened. Let's not rush into the last procrastinate and say, of course I know. Highlight, go back to your diary and say, I achieved this major milestone, I would have forgotten it. Get opportunities to go through. And when you achieve major milestones, keep on put it down so that you don't forget. Shine on it and take time. And let's not do our appraisal cafeteria. Oh, let's have 10 minutes of lunch. Why don't we plan to have a good discussion will not go less than 45 minutes. And we all know that. Okay. Seem to be talking a lot now. Appraisal, you know, encourage communication, get input from others, stay focused, be in a room that is ideal for us to carry out the business, communicate any shortcomings, be very open, and be also empathetic to the other person. You are whatever, it's never an easy time anyway, but again, if we are using performance management of giving feedback, open to communicate, people understand their goals, it should be no-brainer. Evaluate the process. Make promises, making promises, don't make promises you know that you have no control over. E.g., yes, I know you will get a promotion. You'll get the transfer you have been waiting for. You'll definitely get whatever. Even that calibration will not affect you. Don't make any promises. Review the goals, concentrate on the few areas. Don't major on the minors. Don't minor on the majors. Don't, it's called, you know, review the goals and make sure that the goals that you set for the next year really are a reflection of the strategy, the person's capability of what they're doing, the technical aspect, and also the departmental goals. You know, after the appraisal, make sure that you complete the paperwork, make a follow-up on the agreements that were made if both of you need to sign the form, and continuously learn in terms of where it has. Okay, so make sure that you give feedback. Any question there before we move on around rating and calibration, taking back the forms? Sounds bad, but that is what. Miss Nancy, you can unmute yourself.
Yeah, I just want to add on to what you have talked about. So in terms of calibration, there's usually a lot of challenges, just as you have said, because people want to rate themselves as exceeding expectations, yet it does not translate to the overall, business goals or yes, the numbers. So what I usually do, I make it very clear, and I train the managers on the same. That, for example, if you've met expectations, let's say this is a customer support department, your turnaround time to sort an issue is 24 hours. So if someone consistently closes a ticket in 12 hours or 15 hours less, then they have exceeded expectations. So that when we get to the time of rating, they know very well that I have been closing these support tickets in less than 24 hours. The time that we have been given as a company is 24 hours. So it has to be extremely clear so that we are all aligned. And in that way, we're able to reduce these rating errors. So the other thing that I do, again, is training the managers on rating errors so that they understand that there's error of central tendency, all those kinds of errors that we've learned about. And then also the stretch goals. So stretch goals and commit goals. So commit goals usually are the goals that employees must meet. I look at, I rate them at 2/3. Even if it is in numbers, it has to be 2/3, then a third above that is a stretch goal. So even as people are rating themselves, they are able to compute and come up with tangible evidence that they exceeded expectations. So the question that I have about the bell curve, do we have to force people into this bell curve? So what's the experiences of people, of my fellow professionals? What do they do in the organizations?
Exactly. We force people into that bell curve, don't we? Isn't it? The board and management forces us to get people into the bell curve, but your bell curve should naturally follow into that bell curve. If it's been done right. Okay, let's hear what other people, what have been some of the challenges. Do we force people into the bell curve? And your bell curve should actually be a natural one. Your bell curve. Top, bottom, bad, standard, majority of you, exceeding, we know them. We even know them. Tunawajua na vilemba, the 3 places of the bell curve. What are others doing? Thank you for the chat. I'll share the details. Nancy, thank you for that. The bell curve, doing about this bell curve. Should we stop it? It's tried and tested. It's something that we'll continue using. We can't run away from it. What are we going to do about the bell curve? In performance management. And giving that feedback. We don't use the bell curve. When we are plotting. And joined the organization 6 months, so those are some of the things that help you with the calibration. The people who have been there longer, you look at the results of the organization, the results of your department, and to see whether it is really ideal and is a reflection of how people have performed against the performance of the organization. One thing that you should not allow, because then as you're doing the calibration, all the results are unpacked at the table is you should not allow the individual's performance, the results, the report that you deliver to management for calibration to happen without us having business results as well, hand in hand. The CFO should also come with the business results, you know, and it might not be all, but we have results year to date. Reflect where we are right now. And we are not saying out of those results, we are looking at how much we are actually going to pay bonus or merit increment or cost of living adjustment. That is not the basis of bringing those figures. The basis is bringing from, we say that this year we're going to grow the business by 30% cumulatively, let's percent. Where are we at right now? We're at 15%. What led to 15%? Some of the challenges, is it people not working hard the way they should be? Did the business environment change drastically? What are the products and services? So even we are discussing the business against the results of the people who have, against the results of the report of the appraisal, then it gives very good reflection of us as a business. So all those things are discussed. And then after that, we unpack the performance. This department, HR, has returned for, everybody is outstanding. Everybody is outstanding. You tell us why your people are all outstanding. However, this is where it is. Collaboration, HR, and finance is fantastic. I agree, all of them. And then maybe someone in quality. We had these difficult cases and I saw HR coming through for us. You get what I mean? So we are not saying calibration from an overall point of view. So I say, but marketing, let's make all their people, you know, and so we start those calibrations and making sure that that is right. Then when we plot the bell curve, I think it naturally fits instead of trying to force it. When we have all the factors held and doing what is right. Any question? Nancy, better? I don't know. It's always very, it's difficult in that boardroom. I know what happens, you know, everybody is trying, they're tough, you know, and sometimes you say, okay, fine, it's lunchtime. Let's all go for lunch. Close the boardroom. Let's go. Don't even think about it, you know, come back. And also we should not be too rushed to make that decision. That's why the deadlines are important for us to be able to take back the results, you know, and the rating of saying now, if it's a bonus, people between this and this, you know, they'll get this between 3 and 3.4, 0.2 to this, whatever. So all those metrics are actually put in place and then fed into the payroll for the formula to be. It's hard work. It's really hard work. It's nothing that is enviable towards the end of the year. Gather some, I keep on saying in December, let me gather some strength, you know, and try and finish all the other bigger projects by October, because then I just need the first week of December to get all the results in and to start those heavy discussions. Okay, great. So these are some of the errors, and thank you, Nancy. You already alluded to it. You are ahead of time. Sources of errors in performance management. We have the central tendency, we have unclear standards, we have the personal preferences, the prejudice, and the biases. We have the discrimination, we have first impressions. These are things as line managers and appraisers we should be very aware of, you know, and this is a very good, if anything, I think you should just take it and pin it within your process of appraisal and telling line managers, hey, when you are praising someone, please that none of these errors come into play, and be very aware that they can come in a very subtle way, and it can cause you not to be objective in the discussions with the person that you are praising. So always make sure that every time you open up the appraisal period, you actually put in these sources of errors and remind everybody that this is it, and let teams know that the manager has been told that these errors should not occur. You know, they could be part of your appraisal in the that you have highlighted there, but they must be reminded to line managers over again that they can't have bias, any form of errors when they are praising. You know, the others are, yeah, we've all seen that, and the explanation are all there. You know, stereotyping and observer first impressions. You know, we tend to do that, and we like people who are like us. Let me put it like that. You know, we associate with people who are like us. Believe we talked about influencing people last week, and how do we want to be seen? You know, I want to be associated with the people of the same color, the same tribe, the same social economic status, the same level of education, you know. So, but we must, as managers, know that diversity and inclusion is key in performance management, and we need to adhere to some of those things. Okay, great. Any question there? We're coming to the of our seminar. Any question there around error that people make in performance management? Any? Okay, so the last one we'll see requirements of an effective performance management system. Just very quickly, just going through the whole now overview of what we have been discussing. We will have one is role clarification, mentor goal setting, and then we have ongoing performance monitoring, ongoing feedback, and goal. We have coaching and support, have standardization, we have continuous open communication, we have trained appraisers who really know what is expected of them, and we are able also to reward hard work through various rewards, recognition, and compensation. People feel that their reward of hard work, you know, even just the fact that I survived 1 year is good enough to get a note from the CEO, a party, you know, coming together and really saying, we survived, high five. And now we are from surviving, we are getting better, we are going to the next level. And then looking at me as an individual, saying, you really have your call of duty, and we are giving you special recognition. You will get a bonus based on your final rating. Outstanding, this is a bonus. If it's standard, this is the bonus. It's exceeds expectation, this is the bonus. Everybody feels good, you know. We should continuously build mutual respect and confidence. We should post appraisal views. That's the administrative work. We should review appeals if there are any, and reviews and appeals should be taken seriously and should not be looked that the employee is a difficult one, that they did not agree. They could be there that came because the manager was not objective, and we need to be able to arbitrate. And who arbitrates? We said, well, it could be HR, or it could be the line manager of the supervisor. Reliability, we must be able to design the appraisal process and the tools that we use to capture well and to give the correct results, and they should be consistent with our goal, strategy of the organization, the job description of the employee, and where the business is hoping to go and what the business is hoping to achieve. And then specific objectives that are given to me. You know, documentation, very key of the entire process, so that we're able to have reference points should any decisions be needed, or any decisions made for an employee based on the employment of where they are, accuracy in the ratings, and finally, T of the rating form. Any questions? So in summary, we have seen that performance management has been defined as a strategic and integrated approach to delivering sustainable success to organizations by improving performance of people who work in them and by developing the capabilities of teams and individual contributors. The Balanced Scorecard is a management tool that provides stakeholders with a comprehensive measure on how the organization is progressing towards the achievements of its strategic goals. And finally, performance evaluation rating reflects the decision by your immediate supervisor and upper management pertaining to the results you produced over the review period. So the performance management system consists of a set of sequential dynamic subsets. Well done, you survived. You have passed. Questions? Comments? Was it useful? What are you taking away from this seminar, the 2-day? I'll stop share now and open the session to questions and answers. Feedback? Was it useful?
It was a very useful session. Unfortunately, I missed the session that happened yesterday, but I have the recording.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm looking forward to try the Balanced Scorecard again.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Thank you so much for breaking it down for us. So easy, you know, it sounds, it looks easier.
Yeah.
So I want to give it another try.
Okay, great. Okay. That's good. Thank you, Nancy. I'll give it another try. And it's easy. It's what it is and stuff like that. Great. Someone else? Takeaways? Was it useful? Was it eye-opener? Anyone else? Useful? Just unmute and say, well, yeah, I have learned. What are you taking away? What are you committing to implementing? Some of the things, and maybe it's things that we already know, but just highlighting and saying, well, if I do this better, I have had this experience here, what would I do? Yeah, I've posted my email address there, just in case you need to, for the people who are asking for the metric. Yeah, if you drop me an email, I will take it and share. Or maybe also what I can do, I can send it to Dan and he puts on this link. Actually, I'll do that. And then you can pick it from there. So, but feel free to reach out. Someone else?
Well, for me, it was useful. It's been very useful, and I think my takeaway today is definitely to look at our appraisal process once more. I think we haven't been very keen on carrying it out effectively or efficiently, if I may say. So my take home is to really just implement what we're supposed to do before, during, and even after. That's my takeaway for today. So thank you.
Thank you, Helen. Yeah, just to become more efficient in your performance management system. Remember that it's from the time that the person gets in or what subset place for them to feel that it's the performance management is being done correctly. And then now, if you're using any methods to be able to rate it, make sure that it's ideal and it's serving the purpose in the organization. Well done. And I'm sure that's for most of us as well here. Manja, Rhoda, Irene, and Eunice, Peter, Immaculate, Annie, Sarah, Akaram, Akrim, Jane, anyone? Thank you. Very informative, useful, will help me to evaluate the point. Great. Okay. So if there are no more questions and feedback, want to end the session here and really thank you very much for a real 2-day engagement from all of you. We really appreciate you coming, and we hope to see you in the subsequent webinars. Let's keep the networks, let's keep the interaction, let's make this community of practice as HR stronger, and let's mentor other people. Let's be real strong business support partners to line managers and to the business as a whole. So for me, I look forward to more amazing with all of you. We hope to see you in Naivasha during the symposium. The topic and the theme for this year is cooking, and it's cooking at high speed, very high speed. And I'm sure we all see all of you. So for me, have a very good weekend and God bless all of you. Thank you very much. Yeah. Okay. Have a great day. Yeah. Great. Yeah. God bless you. Take care and mute and say bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Bye, everyone.
Thank you very much. Have a
Thank
good
you,
one. I'll share
Catherine.
I'll send the metrics to Dan and he will put it on the LMS. In fact, I'll send it right now, right now to him. Dan, please make sure that you do that and I'll follow it up.